Welcome to Straight Shot Politics. Each episode will bring you in-depth discussion with experts, community leaders, and analysts who will share their insights, experiences, and predictions. From local elections to global diplomacy, we'll provide you with the tools and perspectives you'll need to navigate today's real-world landscape.
Welcome to Straight Shot Politics. This is Lisa Chafee. Thanks for joining us today. One of the many topics that have been highly debated over the last few years is our election integrity. And today I'm happy to have in studio Eileen Watts, who is one of the co-founders of the Ohio Election Integrity Network. She's a current board member and president. She's been actively involved in political campaigns since 2006 on a local, state, and national level. She is a mom. She has 2 adult daughters. She has been a small business owner. Eileen, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Lisa.
So tell me about Ohio Election Integrity Network and how it came to be.
Okay. A group of us started several years ago, actually 5 of us women met at a meeting and all raised our hands when we said that we were very concerned about election integrity here in Ohio and what could we do to make it better. Basically, what could we do to make a difference? So we began meeting on a regular basis, decided to begin Ohio Election Integrity Network, and actually with the help of a national organization, we've implemented their program here in Ohio. We saw the need for it and decided to jump on and get it started. So we've been working on it now for a couple years. Obviously, our mission's to achieve the fair, honest, accurate, and transparent elections here in Ohio. We've got now just shy of about 400 volunteers statewide from the northern parts of Ohio up near Lake Erie all the way down to the Ohio River down near Cincinnati and everything in between. Anyhow.
So I'm reading some literature you've given me and what you guys do. Voter rolls. Talk to me a little bit about that and the importance of getting those cleaned up. And to the average layperson, what does that mean, cleaning the voter rolls?
Yes, or better said, maybe as updating voter rolls as well. Anyhow, well, we work with a group of these volunteer grassroots people building county task forces. And one of the most important things that we're working on is the voter rolls. We have an application that we use that we have a couple people that here in Ohio that have ohio.checkmyvote that help us pull up the data of possible electors currently on the voter rolls that may not be eligible to vote. So that we research, and with a whole lot of volunteers, we go through and we research, have they filed a national change of address form and moved possibly out of state, maybe even already registered in another state, maybe already voting even in another state, and we start documenting that type of information.
Or they may be dead.
And correct, they could have passed away. So finding, obviously, that information as well and documenting it and taking that into our county boards of election and submitting the information for them to research and look into it and verify, did this person move away? Did they pass away? Do we have multiple registrations, maybe all at the same location? Or a name change, possibly. There's all different types of reasons for why we're challenging maybe some of the those on the voter rolls that are currently possibly ineligible.
So tell us what makes one eligible. What are the requirements to vote in Ohio?
You need to be 18 years old. Actually, there is a list here. You need to be 18 years old. You need to be living in the county that you're going to be voting in. You need to be a resident. You need to be a United States citizen, obviously, and an Ohio resident. There's actually...
So those are the biggies.
Those are the biggies.
So for residency, to establish residency, if I just moved here today from, say, Tennessee, can I register to vote in Ohio now, or do I have to wait 30 days, 60 days? What's the time frame on that?
Oh, no, I believe that you can actually, you would have been filling out a national change of address. And when you go in to get the Ohio driver's license, they're going to obviously be updating your license, giving you an Ohio driver's license. And at that point, with either state issue photo ID or the state of Ohio driver's license, you can go and register to vote right here in Ohio, in whatever county that you're living in, obviously.
And now, as I understand it, we have passed a voter ID law here in Ohio. So
Yes.
you can't just bring a utility bill anymore.
No.
You have to show a state issued ID or driver's license.
Correct. And there's a couple other exceptions to that as well, like military
Right.
IDs.
And I find it funny that, and I don't want to get too far into the weeds in this because we have so much
Sure.
information for you to share, but I find
Sure.
it funny that the opposition to our voter ID law, why is there opposition at all? Because you have to have an ID to buy tobacco, buy alcohol, get your medicine, go to the doctor, anything legal that you have to do, you have to have an ID. And now Ohio state IDs, not the driver's license, but ID, is free.
Yes, it is.
So there's no excuse. And they're everywhere. They're just like Speedway. You can't go very far. We've got, just in Hilliard, there's at least 2 within a few miles of each other BMV offices. So there's no excuse not to have one.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And we do try to make it as convenient and easy as possible. And now it's affordable because it doesn't cost you anything. So House Bill 458, when they passed that last year, it was one of the best things I think that we could do for the citizens, here in Ohio that may not have had even a driver's license per se. And for those people, this even refers to someone like my own mother that quit driving several years ago, but she still gets a state issue photo ID. So obviously, and still able to vote.
Right. One of the other things that your network is working on is recruiting poll workers and
Yes.
poll observers. So quickly explain the difference between the two and, of course, the importance.
Okay. First, the importance is it's a wonderful way for any citizen to do their civic duty, actually, in their county as a poll worker. You can work within your county at any voting location and or at the County Board of Election for 30 days of early voting. The difference between a poll worker and an observer is the poll worker is paid. It is a paid-for position. You are trained and certified through your County Board of Elections to work this job, and it is a job. So whether you're doing 30 days of early voting at the BOE or you're just working at a voting location on Election Day, which can be a pretty long day, as you well know. They usually require you to be there, say, 6:30 a.m. until after everything is closed up at that voting location and put away. So it can be until 8:30. If the polls close at 7:30, you can be there until 8:30 or 9 or so. So it is a long day, but you are paid for that. And again, you're credentialed and certified through your County Board of Election. They do have a training specifically for poll workers. As opposed to poll observers are certified actually through, again, training. They get their credentials typically through your party. It can also be from your county chairperson, whether you're a Democrat or Republican. Either way, you get your credentials and you go in. You can work half of a day or a full day. Again, the early voting, 30 days of early voting as well, but it's unpaid. So
I've actually been a poll observer myself,
Mm-hmm.
and it was hard because I couldn't talk to anybody. And I'm a talker. But it was an interesting experience just to be watching everything, and it's rewarding. It really is rewarding to be part of that process. where can anyone who wants to sign up to be a poll worker or observer, where can they do that?
So as a poll worker, you would want to contact your county board of elections and let them know that you would like to do the training and be a poll worker. Again, if you're a registered citizen within that county, they're going to set you up and ask you if you're typically a Republican or a Democrat or an independent, and put you through the poll worker training. And again, that's through the County Board of Elections. If you want to be a poll observer, you would call the party in which you would like to be an observer for and let them know, again, I'm interested in being a poll observer. How do I sign up? Where do I get credentials, my credentials and my training to do so?
Because with a poll observer, they do try to have one Republican, one Democrat at each location. That way it is truly bipartisan and fair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
and same with even as a poll worker,
right.
you're always working with someone in the opposite party. So if you're a Republican, you're always going to be at a table, possibly checking in the voters as they come in, but it's always going to be one Republican and one Democrat.
Makes it fair.
Yes, yes.
So you've got some exciting legislation you're working on now. Tell us about that.
Okay, it's called House Bill 472, and we have House Representative Bernie Willis and Representative Bob Peterson that have been sponsoring. They are our sponsors for this bill. We also have a list of co-sponsors. It was introduced a couple weeks ago, and it's also called or referred to as Ohio Votes Count Act. Anyhow, the bill is pretty comprehensive, but it covers two different areas of our elections. Half of it is regarding voter registration and voter rolls, like we were talking about earlier, as well as cybersecurity issues with anything electronic. So we want to enhance and update our cybersecurity, as well as obviously close any loopholes in voter registrations, as well as help update the voter rolls.
So let's talk cybersecurity a little bit, because after 2020, that was a big issue because the complaints that possibly the voting machines were hacked. So what, within that context, does this bill, when you say cybersecurity, layman's terms?
Right. So they, in layman's terms, they have these things called Albert sensors. There's actually, we'll probably start diving into the weeds here, and I'm not the expert at cybersecurity, but it addresses all kind of issues as far as the voting machines, the tabulators, and the e-poll books. Here in Ohio, we have an assortment of voting machines that we use, but the ones that are most talked about are Dominion voting machines and or the ES&S. Those are the ones that have also had national attention, I suppose, brought forth here, whether it be in the court of law or out in the news, certainly. People also question if the e-poll books that basically cover all of our people that are registered to vote in that county. They are, whether it be No Ink or 10X or whatever the machine, iPad, e-poll book, people are concerned about how much information is going in and out of those. When are they last updated? When were they last certified? Bringing them up to, code and standards, what we call EAC standards. But I would say there's a lot of questions concerning specifically the voting machines that people have really questioned. And it's caused, unfortunately, a lot of, doubt to the voter.
It's a lot of confusion. So I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. So Frank LaRose, our Secretary of State, Ohio is known for our voter integrity and how well our elections how well they've been run. And based off of that, if we're doing so good, why do we need your group?
Okay, so our group, with this House bill, it does close, again, some loopholes. For instance, and by the way, The General Assembly, meaning our Ohio House of Representatives as well as our Ohio senators, are the ones that pass laws, and then our Secretary of State abides by whatever laws in the Ohio Revised Code that they put forth. The bill matters because half of the bill, again, referring to the voter registration and the voter rolls, is one of the most important parts of our elections. People want to make sure that only eligible citizens are on the voter rolls. And one of the things that we cover in the bill is verifying all the information from a voter application, a voter that comes in and is applying has all kind of information, your personal information. They ask you, are you a citizen? There's a list of questions after, and then those are submitted. They are not always checked prior to putting them on the voter rolls. Once they're on the voter rolls, it becomes very challenging to get them off the voter rolls if they are uneligible. So part of this bill is actually verifying and confirming the information on that application prior is the big word, to adding them to the voter rolls. That saves us a lot of confirmation notices and mailers and waiting 4 to 6 years to pull them off the voter rolls.
Right.
So, and a good example of that is, I guess, one of my did you knows. We know that here in Ohio, in the state of Ohio, we've got, 2 sanctuary cities and I think 8 sanctuary locations, but people ask about the non-citizenship status, and we just got the record from March 30th of this year that we currently have 236,424 people that are non-citizens, but they have state issue IDs and or driver's licenses. Now, that does not mean that they all registered to vote, but we need a way to probably check that, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So
my mind is just blown right now.
I know it surprises some people that we don't check and verify the information prior to putting them on the voter rolls, and it depends on where they're registering to vote. But the Secretary's of State office does not have the capability to go in and check citizenship status, nor do they keep records of that, as well as our county boards of election do not have the ability to do that either. So we are trying to obviously pass this HB 472, knowing how important that it is that the people on our voter rolls are eligible citizens of Ohio.
So this begs the question that it just popped into my head. And you're talking about we have these 200,000 plus people who have state issued IDs. Aren't they supposed to prove their citizenship to get a state issued ID?
Well, no, because they might be here actually. Say, for instance, if they're a student or on an H-1B visa, they could possibly have a green card or a temporary work card. So there's many legitimate reasons why somebody would have a state ID and or driver's license but not be a citizen of the United States.
Okay.
Does that make sense? We've got a lot of foreign students actually right here, even in central Ohio. Ohio State's pretty large, and we've got a large number of non-citizens, we'll say, or foreigners that come here to go to college.
Well, and I know we have, when I used to work for Enterprise Rent-A-Car, we would see many international driver's license. I never knew that existed until I worked for them. So it's all intertwined. But back to the legislation, which, by the way, just for knowledge's sake, if you want to track this legislation, you can go to the Ohio Legislature website, look up House Bill 472, and you can follow it. Right now I'm looking at it. It's in-house committee with the House Homeland Security Committee.
Yes.
They will be having hearings. You can track it on there, look at their calendar, and see when those hearings are. You are welcome as citizens to submit written testimony or speak in person, and we all should have that right to do that. It's an intense experience. I've testified at the State House many times now, and I encourage everybody to, if nothing else, follow it and see where it's at. So what else will this bill, if passed, what's the main points that you hear about, the questions you get, the top, say, 2 or 3 things
top
that
2
you're
or
hearing.
The top, I'd say 3 things are definitely the voter registration and closing any, loopholes. And those, I think, are going to be easy enough to accomplish, before the November election, as well as updating our voter rolls, making sure that they're actually, accurate voter rolls going into our, November. And certainly the cybersecurity is important. Some of the issues in the bill are going to take time. And we know that we're not going to be able to fix everything in one bill. And we also know it's not going to all be fixed this year.
Right.
We're realistic. I mean, we know that some of this is going to take funding to
Right.
to cover the cost of doing it. So, yes.
So you have a little list over there of did you knows, and I love the did you knows. So give us some of that.
Okay. Just so that everyone knows, sometimes words matter in our bills, but in the Ohio Revised Code, Article 5, Section 1, to be exact, they modified the quote unquote every citizen to say only citizens. So, meaning only Ohio U.S. citizens, that are able to vote in our elections. So obviously, it's unlawful if you vote as a non-citizen. Let's see.
And what's the penalty for that? If someone gets caught, if they're a non-citizen and they get caught casting a vote, what's the penalty?
It varies. So, for instance, it typically goes, it is submitted names or any suspected uneligible voters would be submitted to the Secretary of State that submits those names to our State Attorney General, Dave Yost's office, and then they go and investigate because, again, remember, you're going to have forensic proof.
Right.
You have to have proof that someone did something illegal, and then if they do find, yes, that somebody voted that was uneligible, then they go ahead and refer that back to the county prosecutor, and then it's up to the county as to how it is prosecuted.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
So it may be different. Actually, that's the real point is it could be different from one county to another. And there are times that people do not know that what they've done was actually against the law.
Well, that would make sense too. You have to have some grace, I guess.
You do.
Yeah. But it's aggravating when you know that there are dead people who are voting or people who have voted twice or they voted in multiple states and it's time to start holding people accountable. But we do have to be smart. But we also know we've got certain county prosecutors who they won't even prosecute people for stealing cars. So I doubt they're going to go after anybody for casting an illegal vote. Hit me with another did you know?
Okay. Not all the voter registrations are made at the county boards of election. I always assumed they were until several years ago when we found out that someone, when they're going in to get their driver's license or that state issue photo ID, that they are also asked, would you like to register to vote? And or they could also be at the Job and Family Services and looking for some social service help. And also be asked, actually, it comes in a packet typically, but in the packet will be an application, to register to vote. So again, there's it's not just the county boards of election. You think that would be their main thing that they're working on, registering voters and keeping up, keeping updated the voter rolls within their county, but again, it's also done by other departments asking if they'd like to register to vote.
This legislation, does it address ballot harvesting? And first, let's explain what ballot harvesting actually is.
So in House Bill 4, ballot harvesting is when you go around and you're collecting a lot of absentee ballots, and if you saw the movie Rigged or 2,000 Mules, it was on display in those movies, but or in the one 2,000 Mules especially. You saw someone that might ride up on a bicycle with a backpack on, open up the backpack, and throw in who knows how many 50, 100, a couple hundred absentee ballots into an absentee ballot drop box. We had a lot of them, not necessarily in the state of Ohio, but in other states where they had more than one per county. In Ohio, we have one absentee ballot drop box per Board of Elections. They are to be monitored 24/7, 365. So we try to stop that type of thing from happening. Also, in the past bill that's already been, in law, you're no longer allowed to just drop off tons of absentee ballots unless they are your immediate family. And then we can dive into into what it actually says from like your mom, your dad, your sister, what happens if they're a half sibling or, or your own child, that kind of thing. But
Well-
yes, you're allowed to drop off family members, but you're not allowed to go around collecting them all over and
Right.
taking them in anymore
And
from people you don't know.
the opposition wants more drop-off boxes. And honestly, I don't understand the need for it, because here's the beauty of an absentee ballot. You got it in the mail, so you can put it back in the mail from your own home in your mailbox. Just raise up the little flag, and your mail carrier will pick it up for you. You don't have to. But something that triggered me to think, my mother was in an assisted living facility, and they have someone come in and help all those residents cast their ballots, and then somebody takes all those ballots.
Hopefully it's 2 people from the County Board of Elections.
I don't know. She's
that-
passed away, so I don't need to go.
Yeah.
But that's something that people, I think, we need to be looking at. People need, if you've got a loved one that's in a nursing home or assisted living, first of all, do they even have the mental capacity to actually cast an informed vote? If they don't, if they've got dementia and it's severe, of course they can't. But that's something, that people need to be concerned about. But ballot harvesting is real. And so how will this legislation address that more? Is it a stronger?
It's already been addressed,
Oh,
actually.
it already has been. Okay, sorry.
And
You
already
said
been
that and I heard that
passed.
wrong.
You're not allowed to do all the massive ballot harvesting here in Ohio.
Okay, so what?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
regarding nursing homes, if we could touch on that
Yeah,
real quick. So the County Board of Election has employees, and going into nursing homes, assisted living residences, there always has to be a Republican and a Democrat that are going together into those homes.
Makes sense.
So just to make sure that everyone
Yeah,
knows
because
that.
they have a right to vote too.
Oh, yeah.
And if you can't take your loved one for whatever reason to cast their ballot, and you can't help them fill out their absentee ballot, then that's a good option if it's being done fairly. Of course,
Correct. I agree.
and I'm gonna, for safety's sake, say, we're gonna assume on the air of caution, and that yes, they're doing it properly, but be aware, educate
Right.
yourselves. So.
Right. They're employees, though, of the County Board of Elections. So they wouldn't be just a, nurse on the floor or some
Right.
other volunteer or, somebody from another organization type thing.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
All right, so we're almost out of time. So, what is your last message, most important thing that you want people to know about Ohio Election Integrity Network?
We're out there accomplishing a lot. We're recruiting poll workers and poll observers, obviously. Working most importantly now, too, on updating our current voter rolls and making sure that when people register that we are able to verify and confirm the information that they've put on their application before we add them to the voter rolls. And then to eventually, obviously, we know that we need to work on all the, cybersecurity and technical.
And you go around
Thanks.
speaking to different organizations.
Mm-hmm.
If a group that's listening wants to have you come in, how can they reach out to you?
Probably best to get on our website, Ohio Election Integrity Network is www.ohioein.org. You can sign up and then send us a note that says, "Hey, can you come talk to my group?" And we've been doing this now for a while, so we're all over Ohio. We'll go wherever you are in Ohio with a group. And we'd love to.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being
Thank
here. Remember, everybody, to get yourself registered to vote. And if you would like to be a poll worker or a poll observer, to reach out to your county board of elections. And thank you for joining Straight Shot Politics.